Ark Primal Chaos, one of Ark Ascended's largest and hardest overhaul mods. And if you thought regular Ark was bad, buddy, you haven't seen anything yet. Because in this mod, everything is chaos. Oh, look at Dodo. Hey man, how's it going? Elemental guardians, mythical and legendary beasts, demonic dinos, nightmare bosses, and worst of all, the Death Knight. And in this video, I only have 100 days to beat every single one of them. So, let's get started. And here we go, boys. Day 1 of my new adventure. I decided to do this 100 days on the center, a map that I have never played before. Once I did get my bearings, I tried to farm some basic resources. That was until I ran into the locals. Oh, what are you?
Get your ass back here, boy!
What is, egg! Give me the egg. No. So, what the? Help! Oh! Ha, Ark. Gotta love it. For those of you who are wondering why I just got jumped by 2 super dodos, every dino in this mod is hyper aggressive, meaning that it's pretty much on sight every time you look at one of them. So with that knowledge, I tried avoiding the locals while gathering some supplies, and that's when I ran into one of the endgame bosses of the mod. Not gonna lie, I was really tempted to see what would happen if I hit it, but I decided that I was gonna play it safe for a little while, and then I immediately forgot that plan because I have the memory of a goldfish, and because I spotted a beta pteranodon. I wanted to see what level it was, but the pteranodon took me approaching it as a challenge and sent me right back to the loading screen. So I decided to take things a little slower, sticking to the edge of the beach and unlocking some engrams. What the? Where do you come from? Okay, new plan. Stick to the shoreline, avoid any and all hostiles, and craft some cooking pots for some easy XP. This plan seemed to work out though, because I was able to make myself some cloth armor, get to level 11, and made myself a little starter base. I also made myself a reusable bola and a bow for some protection, and that's when I noticed the alpha parasaur. Now, normally I would run away at the mere sight of one of these boys, but today I was feeling brave because I had a big brain idea.
What the fuck?
Oh, I can kill him with arrows. Okay. I was getting really nervous there. Oh! You know, I am so happy that parasaurs can get bola'd. This also meant that I could stop being so afraid of all the dinos on the beach, so I started a crusade against the local population, which ended up getting me a good amount of alpha hide. Then I got to work on my next plan, which was to build a raft and find a place to live that's less hostile. The process of building the raft took most of the day, because midway through making it, my arch nemesis came to visit, the terror birds. Thankfully, I placed the bed down, and once I got my stuff back, I got revenge on the terror bird that terrorized me, only to run into its friend. What the? I love this game. It also doesn't help that my primal bed I made doesn't seem to follow the laws of physics, but eventually I did get my stuff back and leave the beach behind. which led me to find this green drop that had crystal. It might not seem like much, but this crystal right here allowed me to make the awesome spyglass. I also eliminated this flying degenerate for its hide. Then I started crafting some narcotics because I wanted to tame myself a berry gatherer. But before I did any taming, I made this Chaos Forge, which is pretty much a regular forge on G Fuel, and can also infuse blood into metal ingots to make some of the modded items. I also made this Primal smithy so I can actually start making some progress in this mod. Then I made a regular smithy, made some trank arrows, and proceeded to engage this trike in bow to horn combat. And once it was knocked out, I almost died to an alpha dodo while scouting for a base location. Thankfully, bolas exist, and once it was nighttime, I fed the trike some berries, and now I have a berry gatherer. Only downside is that I have no hide for the saddle, so I spent some time hunting down some non-modded dinos for some hide, and was able to craft the trike saddle. With my new friend's ability to harvest all the narco berries, I was able to make some narcotics for some sweet levels, and started looking for a base spot. I thought about living on Skull Island, but quickly realized how much work it would take to build there, so I decided that I was gonna build my base by this little set of ruins on the beach. But before I did any building, I had to sail all the way back to get the trike I just tamed, but there wasn't enough room inside the raft. So I built him a ramp, and now he lives up there. While we were sailing back home, I made some alpha trank arrows, and also made some SCS cryopods. When I arrived back at my soon-to-be base location, I knocked out these two dodos because I needed their eggs to make the beta tier kibble, which is used to tame beta dinos. And from there, the beta eggs are used to tame the alpha dinos, and you guys get it. And with that exposition out of the way, it's time to get to building. So, with the main layout of the base now completed, my next goal was to tame a flyer, and it just so happens that a level 95 PT just landed right in front of me. It's by no means the greatest level, but at least I'll be able to fly around and look for tames easier. I also tried getting more alpha hide from this winged beast, and this is when I learned that alpha dinos hit like mini semi-trucks, and I should have died here, but the pteranodon forgot that it has wings and just walked after me, allowing me to get more alpha blood and hide. While waiting for my PT to tame, I made more cementing paste and informed this Moss Chops of my no trespassing policy. Then I fed my PT some prime meat, and it was mine. Before I went on any more grand adventures though, I first made the recovery gravestone, which will allow me to recover my gear no matter where I die. I also started channeling my inner farmer, because every kibble in this mod requires some form of crop. So I set out to find a Phiomia for some fertilizer, and not even 5 minutes later, I found one. I did have to relocate its friend because I didn't want him ruining the tame, and while waiting I spotted a level 130 beta pteranodon. Well, I know what I'm gonna tame soon, but in order to make the kibble, I needed carrots. So once the Phiomia was tamed, I farmed some nearby crystal, and when I got back home, I started making some crop plots. It ain't much, but it's honest work. But once I got the compost bins filled with some high quality materials, I realized just how long it would take for me to get the fertilizer. So instead of waiting, I just found a dung beetle, gave him his daily fecal calories, and now I have an infinite source of fertilizer. Once I brought the poop beetle back home, I got him set up so he can start making me some fertilizer, farm some narcoberries to make even more narcotics, and spent the night working on my base. And when it was morning, I made my first set of beta kibble. The only thing left to do now was to knock this bird out, feed it some kibble, and that weight is actually insane. Once I got home, I made my new beta PT its saddle and went to harvest all the metal my new friend could carry. I also flew around looking for some beaver dams because I wanted to make a greenhouse, though I don't think the beavers approved of this plan. And when I got back home, I witnessed this. Whoa, why are you? It's Star! Oh no, I shouldn't be laughing, but that's kind of hilarious. Yeah, so I might have forgotten that dinos do need food to survive. I know, shocker to me too. Moving on from that, I decided to make the egg collector, which allows me to store all my female dinos inside it while they continue to produce eggs. I then went on another metal run, got the metal smelting, and raided some beaver dams. Ow. This crusade continued into day 10, and when I decided to stop being a menace to all beavers, I tried to get my hands on some silica pearls, and I was able to get a decent amount before I was sent back home by this Hydra piranha. I'll explain more about the elemental tiers when I get there, but for now, my main goal was to make some electronics in this fabricator that I forgot to record me making, so I could make myself a generator. Then I spent some more time harvesting some wood, stone, and thatch so I can finally finish my base. When it was morning, I made myself this blood pack syringe because for my future army raising, I wanted to make the quality of life nanny. That's not for a long time though. So instead, I decided to go around and tame up some low-level beta dinos because for the alpha tier kibble, I was gonna need a lot of beta eggs. This quest ended up taking me to the floating island, and this is a place I'd rather not be. In the first 10 seconds, I spotted like 50 different ways I could be sent to the Shadow Realm, but I didn't listen to my instincts and continued to explore. Yeah, so my bird and I got deleted. The worst part is that this is all entirely my fault, but we have to keep moving. So, using my old bird, I tamed this beta dodo for more eggs, and when it was night I made some alpha kibble and this alpha PT saddle, because I wanted to tame this max level alpha bird. The only problem with this plan was that the bird was right next to a primal resurrected trike, and if that thing gets angry at me, there is a good chance I'll be sent right back to the Stone Age. So, making sure to keep my distance, I was able to knock the alpha bird out, and once it was tamed, I got right out of there. Once I got back home, I started farming more stone and wood, because seeing that primal trike made me want to put up some extra defenses. And once they were finished, I flew on over to Skull Island to harvest more metal and obsidian, and when I got back home, home, I made some polymer. I also have this industrial grill now, and yes, I forgot to record that as well. Moving on from my complete lack of awareness, I spent some time harvesting more crystal and metal, then I made a fridge to store all my food, asserted my dominance over this beach, made more alpha kibble, and started taming some alpha dinos to unlock the next tier, the elementals. The elemental tier is split into 3 groups: volcanic, hydro, and electric. Electric dinos can stun their enemies, hydro makes dinos forget how to breathe, and volcanic, well, burns things. And if I want to continue to progress in this mod, I'm gonna have to beat the 3 elemental guardians. In order to do that, I made sure to tame as many alpha dinos as I could, because I'ma need a lot of eggs. Another thing that could help me is an RG for metal runs, so I flew on over to the north, and thanks to my alpha arrows, I was able to knock out this overgrown turkey, and after feeding it some kibble, I put it in the soul ball and collected some oil like a true American. I also found some penguins just chilling on this iceberg, and after a lengthy conversation, I was able to convince them to hand over their polymer. When I got back home, I made an alpha Argentavis saddle and tested its strength on a legendary dilo. Now, normally you shouldn't fight legendaries until you have a higher tier dino like Shadow or Fairy, but due to this dilo's shortcomings, I was able to get my first bit of legendary hide. I then farmed more metal before returning the base, where I started to make more alpha ingots in the Chaos Forge, and set out to find an ankylo. It took most of the day, but I did end up finding a level 135 beta ankylo, and once I brought it back home, I knocked it out, fed it some kibble, made its saddle, and metal gathering should be a lot easier now. Another thing that would make life a lot easier for me is this SCS terminal, which pretty much is the same thing as the soul terminal from Ark Evolved. I also made the soul gun to make it easier for me to store my dinos, and started working on my greenhouse, because the sooner I start growing crops, the quicker I can make some elemental kibble. I had to go on a crystal run though, because I didn't have the necessary funds to make the full structure. But once I returned to base, I was able to finish making my greenhouse, and like the good farmer I am, I made sure to till my crops so that I can have the maximum production. So now that my farm was up and running, my next goal was to get a good long neck rifle, because as I work my way up into the higher tier dinos, I'm going to need a better way to knock them out than with this flimsy crossbow. So I spent the whole day just flying around looking at all the supply drops, and as you can imagine, I didn't get one. So in crushing defeat, I just flew on back home, where I proceeded to make this primal crossbow that apparently has infinite ammo, which is going to be very useful because I plan on doing some of the caves. I don't need the artifacts, but what I do need is the cave drops, because they are probably my best chance at getting a good long neck rifle. Before I did any spelunking though, I spent some time flying around looking for more alpha dinos to tame. Then I grabbed some silica pearls that I forgot to record and made the awesome teleporter. It's a quality of life mod that makes it so I can just teleport back home instead of flying for like 20 business days. And speaking of flying, it was time to do my first cave on this map, the jump cave. It's called the jump cave because, well, there's a jump puzzle at the back of the cave that has like 3 different red drops inside, but I didn't realize that there was a paid membership to to access this cave, and I proceeded to get bounced by this legendary spider. My second attempt wasn't any better, because I'm really bad with grappling hooks, and long story short, I got sent back to the loading screen. Okay, new game plan. Just gonna ignore all hostiles and not touch the ground. Somehow this plan ended up working, and I was able to get to the parkour section of the cave. And this is where you may think I'm gonna bust out my parkour skills, but I'm playing modded Ark, and I have a grapple gun with infinite ammo. So I just grappled up to the supply drops and got everything you could imagine, but a long neck rifle. In defeat, I sent myself back to base via fall damage, and after getting some prime meat cooking for kibble, I noticed that there was a volcanic trilobite trying to take over my base. So I sorted the little dude out, and now that I fought a volcanic dino, I had the overwhelming desire to tame one. So I took to the skies trying to find my first volcanic tame, and while flying, I spotted this level 150 demonic reaper queen. Yeah, I'ma stay away from that one. In the morning, I decided to try out my RG's combat skills, and let's just say they were a little lacking. This is why I'm trying to find a strong tame, so that I can actually feel some safety in this game. And this electric Dodo Rex would be great, but its level is a little too low for me. So I continued my search. I am not meant to be here right now. Oh! No! What killed it? I love this game. I finally find a good level Dodo Rex, and it dies via Megalodon. Improved AI, ladies and gentlemen. Safe to say that I wasn't having the best of times right now, and in desperation, I used the Dino Tracker. Don't worry, this is only like one of the 5 times I used this mod, but I really just wanted a Dodo Rex, and you'll see soon how big of a mistake that was. Anyways, once I found the flaming chicken, I started to shoot this man with all my trank arrows until he went to sleep. Then I teleported back home to grab the taming supplies, and now I have a 20-foot tall flaming chicken of death. I also tamed this Hydra carbo and volcanic raptor in the morning, and when I got back home, I introduced my new friends to their permanent residence. And ladies and gentlemen, it is time to test out my new Dodo Rex. As you can see, this man is extremely fast, and also really loud. You can't tell because I lowered the volume in editing, but just know that my ears are starting to hurt. But I suppose the pain is worth it because I can now take on mythic dinos and get some real good loot. I also got enough volcanic hide to make its saddle, and I also made this mythic armor with all the mythic ingots I've made, and this armor is insanely busted. The only thing that I'm missing now is having a strong dino that doesn't make my ears bleed. So I looked for a new powerhouse, and found this level 135 volcanic Spino. Yeah, that will do. So I started the process of knocking this flaming Spino out and taming it, but would you look at that, I forgot to record again. Yeah, so my recording software decided to go on its villain arc and just randomly stop recording in the middle of my sessions. But I eventually fixed this, so don't worry. Anyways, I decided to go on another rampage with my Dodo Rex, because I was short on volcanic hide to make the Spino saddle, and it's also really fun getting loot from these mythic jerboas. It's a free way to get mythic health potions, and this early in the game, that's really handy. Our travels took us to the volcanic island, where we slayed some volcanic dinos for their hide, and once I got home, I made the volcanic Spino saddle, and this man is a beast. Don't know how a volcanic Spino can get a hydration buff, but I won't complain. It's also nice not to feel like my ears are slowly dying every time this man breathes. So I spent most of day 26 just establishing my dominance over this land with my new Spino. I also tamed more Hydro turtles, and when I returned home, I was feeling on top of the world. That was right before I ran into a demonic dilo and got humbled in the worst way possible. Well, that Spino lasted a grand total of 10 minutes. Thanks, game. Well, now I have to go tame a new powerhouse because I refuse to use that Dodo Rex. So I repaired my crossbow, farmed more narcoberries to make more alpha trank arrows, and found this level 135 electric Rex. This was huge because not only would this boy be my new powerhouse, I was also planning on making a hydro, volcanic, and electric army to take on each of the guardians. Apparently the Rex wasn't a fan of my plan, and before I could knock it out, the Rex proceeded to do a 5-star frog splash right into lava. So in the span of 2 days, I not only lost my Spino, but a good level Rex. This game is fun. Well, now that I'm thoroughly depressed, I went home and made more alpha narcotics, and when it was night, I decided that I'm just looking for either volcanic, hydro, or electric Rexes, because I'm going to have to start making my armies real soon. And surprisingly, the game decided to be nice and gifted me this level 150 hydro Rex. So I quickly grappled onto a ledge, shot it with a bunch of trank arrows till it went to sleep, fed it some kibble, and those stats are insane. Yeah, I'm never letting this Rex out until I have a breeding pair. I also found this level 135 volcanic deathworm, and I'm definitely thinking about taming it, but for now I just returned home and continued being an absolute menace. And I also got my hydro turtles breeding, not for making an army, but so I can have a infinite source of hydro hide. Look, I know this sounds bad, but I have a perfectly good reason for this, and that when it became morning, I tried to get my hands on a good long neck, but my terrible luck strikes again. So I just went back home and went on another metal run to restock my supplies, and once I was done with getting all the metal smelting, I made some air conditioners for my future army raising, and finished building the defenses around my base, because I rather not have a demonic dilo just walk in and nuke everything. I also tested out how much hide I can get from these hydro turtles, and while it wasn't bad, I was going to need a lot more. Can't dwell on it for too long though, because I got things to do, like getting more wood so I can make some that's a nightmare trike, an endgame boss that I'm going to have to fight. All 40 million HP of it. That's a problem for future me though. Present me's main focus was taming a male Hydro Rex or any of the other elemental Rexes, so I can start building my army. And I spent almost 2 days flying around the map looking for one, but I just couldn't find one. So I tried getting one from the jump cave, and well, you can guess how that went. I mean, I got this really nice crossbow, but I was looking for a long neck rifle game. At base, I turned the obsidian that I've been collecting into some hard polymer. Then I knocked out this alpha trike because my old trike is okay, but an alpha trike will make harvesting berries a lot easier. Once it was tamed, I teleported us back to base and made all the spark powder I could. because I want to make some trank darts. More specifically, mythic trank darts. But those are gonna require a lot of resources. So I got to work farming a ton of narcoberries, made a modest 900 gunpowder, crafted some mythic ingots, and made my first set of mythic trank darts. And they were well worth the investment. So I went back home and made 30 more of these mythic trank darts, and set out to tame some dinos. Luck seemed to be on my side today though, because not even 5 minutes into the search, I found a level 135 Hydra Rex. Thanks to these mythic trank darts, taming this Rex went a lot faster, and once it was knocked out, I teleported back home to make the necessary amount of kibble, and now I can start my army of Hydra Rexes. On the way back home, I spotted this level 130 demonic ferox with a modest 1.8 million health. I don't know about you, but it feels like the game loves to remind me on how weak I am. But that's all going to change, because I found a level 145 volcanic deathworm. Using my mythic darts, I was able to knock out this roid worm, and after giving the worm its favorite food, I quickly got out of there, made the deathworm saddle, and now I got some real power. Some might even call it firepower. You get it? Because it's made of fire. Terrible puns aside, I spent the rest of the day just going around and being an absolute menace to the island, and when I got back home, I put away the spoils of war. Then I made an industrial forge, but my base wasn't big enough for it, and I really didn't feel like remodeling my whole base, so I put it on the roof. Modern problems require modern solutions. Now that I had an industrial forge, I harvested all the wood I could carry and turned it into charcoal. Then I made more mythic darts and spotted a level 150 deathworm right outside my base. Don't get me wrong, I was really tempted to tame it, but I need to save these darts for electric and volcanic rexes. So I challenged it to a duel, and then the game smacked me for my arrogance, and I got killed by a demonic dilo for the second time. This is starting to become a trend now. Thankfully, I still have my Hydra Rexes, so I made more elemental kibble, and after flying around for most of the day, I knocked out and tamed this level 100 volcanic Rex. I then tried to knock out this high level electric griffin, and this is where I started my descent into madness. You see, I was able to get the griffin close to being knocked out, and when it started a torpor run, I thought everything would be fine, but I quickly learned that this electric griffin has a phobia of grass and refused to land. So I spent like 10 minutes just chasing this man halfway across the map, and it got to the point where I just lost my patience and started blindly shooting at the man, which caused me to knock out my own flyer. So all I got to show for this adventure is a bunch of wasted mythic darts and a knocked out bird. Thanks, game. Once I returned home, I started to hatch some Rex eggs, and my plan was to use this army of Hydra Rexes against the volcanic guardian. I also started drawing some blood so I can make the quality of life nanny, which will make imprinting my dinos a lot easier. After making sure that my baby Rexes had their daily rations, I wanted to see how strong the Hydra Rexes were, and that's not bad at all. They're able to get a hydration buff like Spinos, and have the ability to make their enemies forget how to breathe, so all in all, they're not bad. So once we were done terrorizing the locals, I flew around hoping to find a good long neck rifle from one of these supply drops drops, but I got nothing. So I returned home and thought about all my life choices, but I don't have the time to think for too long, since I'm on day 37 now, and I want to fight my first guardian before day 50. So once my first batch of Hydra Rexes were done, I wanted to test how much damage an imprinted one would do, and I gotta say, these boys are strong. The only thing holding me back now from fighting the volcanic guardian is waiting on more Hydra Rexes. So to pass the time, I tried to find another volcanic or electric Rex to start my other armies, and Ark must have taken pity upon my poor soul, because I found a max level electric Rex. The taming process went way easier thanks to these mythic darts, and after feeding it some kibble, I tamed up a low level electric Rex because I still need each elemental egg to progress. At base, I introduced the electric Rex to its new home, or at least tried to if the game let me, so I just went on another metal run. Once the metal run was finished, I tried to get a good long neck rifle from the jump cave, and at this point, it's been over 10 days of me searching, and I have yet to find a single good long neck rifle. I even spent most of day 39 just flying around looking for any drop that had a long neck rifle, but there was none to be found. I did, however, fight any mythicals I spotted, because those health potions are going to be real handy for boss fights. I continued my crusade against the mythic dinos for the rest of the day, and when I returned home, I started to make some mythical ingots, and started off day 40 by looting all the surface drops I could find, hoping that at least one of them would have a long neck rifle, but as usual, I got nothing. I did, however, spot a max level Hydra Guardian just vibing out in the forest, and that 1 million health is really intimidating. Thankfully, I'm not fighting the Hydra Guardian yet, so that's a problem for future me to worry about. The only thing present me has to worry about is my slow descent into madness, because I once again got nothing of value from the jump cave. I would say that I hate this game, but while flying around on my PT, I found a level 140 male volcanic Rex. So I don't know if the game is having like some sort of midlife crisis right now, but I won't complain. Once the Rex was tamed, I teleported back home and spent the rest of the day farming as much elemental hide as I could, because I want my armies to have the best protection possible, and that's gonna require a lot of hide. So after becoming like public enemy number 1 to all dinos, I returned to base to make more mythical narcotics, and got my volcanic Rexes breeding so that I can fight the electric guardian. Then for the rest of the day, I once again tried to find a good long neck rifle, but the only thing I found was pure disappointment. So instead, I just farmed more hide and blood with my Rex, and ran the jump cave for like the 8th time this video. And have you guys heard of the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, getting a different result? Because that's what I'm feeling like right now. Day 42 started off with me pondering my entire existence. Then I made a chemistry bench so that I could mass craft gunpowder and narcotics. I tested out my new chemistry bench by going on a flint run, and yeah, I say it was well worth the investment. So with gunpowder no longer being an issue, I spent most of the day just flying around looking for any Hydro dinos so I can get more Hydro hide, and that's when I ran into a Shadow Turkey. Shadow dinos are the next tier after elementals, and in order to get to that tier, I first need to beat all 3 guardians. Thankfully, my Hydra Rex is a certified unit, and was able to gobble this turkey up, and we teleported back home. The start of day 43 was spent making a modest 100 trank darts, and with a good rifle, this would've set me for life, but I can't have nice things now, can I? Moving on from my mental breakdown, I started raising more Hydra Rexes for my crusade against the Fire Nation. Then I flew around and raided some beaver dams because I need more cementing paste. It's nothing personal, buddy, it's just business. The locals didn't seem to like my line of thinking though, so I had to sort them out with my Rex. I then spent the rest of the day being a menace to society. And when it was night, I flew around looking for any good supply drops, but as usual, there was nothing of value. So I just picked more fights with the locals, and when it became morning, I grabbed this red drop that had some okayish loot in it. Then I flew around and hunted down any volcanic dino I could find, and spent the rest of the day just flying around. I don't know what I was looking for, probably a female electric Rex, but I did spot this demonic thorny dragon, which I really wanted to tame, before I remembered that I'm still like 50 side quests away from taming it, so I just went back to waging a one-man war against the volcanic dinos. I started off day 45 by trying to tame this max level volcanic dragon, because that thing looks badass. Unfortunately, my primitive long neck doesn't do enough torpor, and also it loses torpor insanely fast. I would have to bring like 300 trank darts, and I'm not about to do that. So I teleported back to Jump Cave because I set up an awesome teleporter outside the entrance, and if you guys guessed I got nothing of value, you would be correct. Like, this loot would be great if I was just playing regular Ark, but what does a man have to do in order to get one good long neck rifle? In defeat, I spent the rest of the day just flying around, wondering how I'm gonna tame any of these late game dinos with my primitive long neck, and also day 50 is coming up real fast. And since my goal was to beat one of the 3 guardians before day 50, I'm gonna have to think of a new plan. And my new plan involved beating the volcanic guardian with my Hydra Rexes, and whenever you beat one of the 3 guardians, you're able to get a summoner for your own tameable version. So I was going to use the volcanic guardian to fight the electric one, and then use the electric one to fight the hydro guardian. Of course, my entire plan revolves around my army and I not getting sent straight to the Shadow Realm, but it's not a crime to have hope. Before heading back to base, I knocked out this level 140 deathworm and tamed it, since my last one was deleted from the server, and when I got back home, I farmed some hydro hide from the Rexes, because I need to make a lot of saddles. The game didn't like this though, and sent a demonic dilo to remind me of my car's extended warranty, and when I tried to lead it away, my Alpha Pteranodon was incinerated. Rest in peace, my winged friend. You were with me from the start, and I wouldn't have gotten this far without you. I couldn't mourn his death for too long, though, because I still had to lead the demonic menace away, and everything was going great right until I reacted too slowly, and my RG met his end. So, who's in favor of just spawning in a guardian and committing all the war crimes against the Dilo population? Because I'm really tempted to do that right now. But now that I'm down to 0 flyers, I spent most of the day trying not to lose my mind, and was able to tame another Alpha Pteranodon and an Alpha Argy, but when I logged back in the next day, I noticed the server rolled back before I tamed the Argy, and I wasn't able to find it. Thanks, game. So I settled for taming this budget Argy instead. Then I bullied this mythical mammoth for its loot, and returned to the jump cave to finally get a good long neck rifle. I love this game. Back at base, I started raising more Hydra Rexes for the army, and spent the rest of the day terrorizing the beaches of the center, because after the events of day 47, I needed to relieve some stress. When I was done being an absolute menace, I returned to base and made a small sacrifice in the name of getting more Hydro hide, and I tried to lure the demonic dilo that was trespassing on my property, but just like before, I got nuked into oblivion and lost both my birds. Again. So I made some alpha saddles, alpha kibble, bullied this mythic jerboa, tamed a beta pteranodon, and tamed another alpha argy. Day 50 started off with me being reminded that this game hates me because I still haven't found a single supply drop that had one good long neck rifle. So when I returned to base, I farmed more Hydra hide from some unfortunate Rexes, made 10 Hydro saddles, and this is it. It's time to fight the Volcanic Guardian. If I win this fight, then I am one step closer to beating this mod. But if I lose, then I don't know what I'm gonna do. So, let's get this show on the road. Attack! Kill it! Kill it! Kill it! Oh my gosh, we're mounting it! Everyone attack! Oh gosh. Come on, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, yes! No, we didn't kill it! What? He's eating the bodies! We got him! He wiped out my entire army. Ooh, now that is what I'm talking about. Our first Guardian taken down. I lost a lot of Rexes, but the fight was worth it, because I got the volcanic seeds, one of the 3 things I need to make the next tier of kibble. I also got some decent loot, and the ability to summon my own tameable volcanic guardian. Before I did that though, I made some improvements to the greenhouse to make room for my elemental fruits, and started raising some volcanic Rexes for my next fight against the electric guardian. I also tried to get my hands on a good long neck rifle, but as usual, my terrible luck strikes again for like the 50th time in this video. So I returned home, pondering why I still even play this game, and spent the rest of the day hunting down volcanic dinos for their hide. And on the morning of day 52, I found a spot to summon in the tameable volcanic guardian. I got a level 85 from the summoner, and while it's not the greatest level, it will have to do because I don't have any more Hydra Rexes to fight it a second time. So I spent the next few minutes shooting this man with all my trank darts, fed it some elemental kibble, and now I have a giant flaming lizard. The only thing left to do now is to raise up my volcanic Rex army, and I'll be ready for my next fight against the electric guardian. While waiting for my Rexes to fully grow up, I spent the rest of the day going around establishing my dominance over this land, and when it became morning, I unleashed my volcanic guardian upon this land, and this thing is an absolute unit. This boy is able to summon in flaming meteors from the sky, and can shoot flaming spikes from its tail that also summon in meteors. In short, this thing is an absolute menace, and I spent a large part of the day just enjoying the feeling of being powerful. The next part of day 53 was spent taming this electric griffin, but just like my last attempt, it wasn't successful. So I decided to finally use my brain, and I built a trap for it. This ended up proving to be the right idea, because I was able to knock out this griffin with little difficulty, and after grabbing some kibble from my base, I was able to tame my new flyer. Now, while my new electric griffin isn't exactly the strongest creature around, its health pool makes it so I can tank hits that would have disintegrated my old flyer. fire, so I feel a lot safer flying around. I ended up spending the rest of day 54 just flying around the center with my new griffin, because being able to fly around really fast is honestly pretty fun, and because I was still looking for a long neck rifle. And no, I still don't have a good one. The morning of day 55 was spent continuing my rampage across the Ark, then I returned home and made 15 volcanic wreck saddles. This might seem like overkill, but I am taking no chances against this electric guardian, because after the elemental tier, I still have like 3 more tiers of dinos before I can even think of taking on the endgame bosses. Once the saddles were finished crafting, I spent some time shoring up my base defenses because I'd rather not lose more of my flyers than I already have. And once I was done placing down the last gate, it was time to fight the electric guardian. I brought around maybe 12 volcanic rexes along with the dodo rex that I haven't used in like 30 days, which should be enough to take down the electric guardian, but we'll just have to see now, won't we? Attack! Everyone attack! Go in! Everyone go in! Go off! Oh, of course we got to 150! Oh gosh.
But I cannot see, I'm legally blind.
Come on, please. Kill it! Yes! Oh, thank you. That tail attack. Oh, I should have been doing that from the get-go. Well, that was easier than expected. I honestly think that with more health potions, my volcanic guardian could have probably soloed this man. But we did it, and it only cost an entire generation of Rexes. For my rewards, I got some electric seeds so I can start growing my own electric fruits, and a tameable electric guardian summoner. And seeing how the electric guardian one-shot my Rexes, I was really excited about getting one of my own. Speaking of electric guardians, after some flying around, I spotted a level 20 version, so I uncryoed my volcanic guardian, and after waiting for the guardian to escape its rocky prison, I was able to beat it for the second time and get another summoner. I then spent the rest of the day flying around on my griffin, still looking for a good long neck rifle, because using the primitive one makes taming these dinos take a lot longer than if I had anything other than primitive. I ended up spending the whole day trying to find one from the surface and cave drops, but you guys know how my luck is. I did find this nightmare Yudi though, and I'm not gonna lie, I am not looking forward to fighting that. Not much changed for day 58 either. I was still looking for a good long neck rifle, and some of you might say that I'm just being stubborn and should move on, but I've made it my mission to get one, and I don't care if it's ascended, ramshackle, or even does one more damage than primitive, I am getting that long neck rifle. In my stubbornness, I might have gotten a little insane, and when I saw this nightmare trike fighting this demonic dilo, I figured this would be a good way to get some easy demonic hide and blood, but in this mod, nothing is ever easy.
What the hell?
No, no, no! It's dead. Aw, So, how many flyers have I lost in this video? I think I'm on 7 now, and the worst part is, I can't even blame the game on this one, because this is all my fault. So, in defeat, I restocked my stone supply, and flew out in search of another electric griffin. Things seem to finally be going my way though, because I was able to find this level 135 electric griffin, and using the same trapping methods as before, I was able to tame it. After giving my new griffin some XP potions, I flew around continuing my quest for the elusive long neck rifle, which brought me back to the jump cave and proved to be a waste of time because I got nothing again. Day 60 was the same story as day 59, searching every supply drop I could find and getting nothing but depression. On day 61, I was back in the jump cave for like the 100th time this video. This time though, I used my electric griffin to fly around, and there is a lot more to this cave than I realized. It has this whole spider section that made me want to break out the trusty flamethrower, and I did check the supply drops, and do I even need to say anything at this point? You guys know the drill by now. And after 5 days of searching, I decided to give up on the idea of ever having a good long neck rifle and just summoned in both tameable electric guardians. Right away, things went horribly wrong when I got nuked by these electric spirit bombs, and when I teleported back, I couldn't find any of my health potions. I spent a solid 15 minutes searching for them, and I'm not going to risk my volcanic guardian dying, so I quickly farmed some health potions thanks to these mythic dinos, and fought another electric guardian because I wanted a better level for my fight against the Hydra guardian. I was able to defeat the electric menace along with the 2 tameable ones I summoned in, before flying on over to Blue Obelisk and summoned in another one. And this time I was rewarded with a max level electric guardian. This time around I wasn't going to use the grappling hook method because I learned my lesson from my last attempt. So my new idea was to lure this man into the ocean and shoot it off the back of my griffin. This ended up being the right idea because I was able to knock it out real quick. The only problem was when a wandering demon fish decided to nibble on the guardian, and I only got 40 extra levels. Turns out this really didn't matter at all because this thing is an absolute beast, and as an added bonus, it is super fast. I was having so much fun that I spent the start of day 63 just causing mayhem across the entire map, and can you blame me? After everything that has happened in this video, it just feels good to be able to destroy everything in my way. The fun times can't last forever though, so when I returned home, I stored away the spoils of war, made a industrial cooker, and farmed some berries so I can make more narcotics. I also farmed some tinto berries so I can make my own health potions, and then using the blood I've been collecting, was able to make beta, alpha, and mythic health potions. The only downside is that they take a long time to craft, but when it was done crafting, I now had 72 alpha potions and like 40 beta ones. So I was now ready to fight the last guardian, the commotion on the ocean, the master of disaster, the Hydra guardian. It's got a bob and weave. Buddy, I don't think you... Yeah! Oh, now that was stressful. Who would have thought that one spicy turtle would be so hard to beat? Thank you, health potions. For my efforts, I now had the last of the elemental fruit seeds I needed, and also my own tameable Master of the Ocean. To celebrate my victory, I tried to get the elusive long neck rifle, but my luck is as terrible as always. Well, there goes my good mood. So with nothing else to do since I have to wait on these elemental fruits to grow, I decided to summon in the tameable water guardian, but I quickly noticed that it was taking reduced damage, which makes my mythical trank darts do way less torpor. And judging by how little that torpor is going up, I was probably going to need another 100 trank darts, so I tried once again to find a good long neck rifle, but I just couldn't do it. No matter where I searched, my terrible luck followed me. So I took matters into my own hands and made the upgrade station. I didn't want to do it, but there's only so much a man can take before he loses his mind. I didn't feel good about it, but I upgraded my long neck rifle to do a modest 246 damage. And when I returned to knock out the giant turtle, I was doing way more torpor damage. And that's when I noticed that the Hydra Guardian was getting an alpha buff. For those of you who are unaware, whenever a dino gets a alpha buff, they take reduced damage. You see where I'm going with this? Yeah, so I found the alpha that was boosting the Hydra Guardian and sent it packing right back to the lobby, and that apparently fixed everything because I was now doing way more damage, and I made the upgrade station for nothing. To make up for my incredible stupidity, I got rid of the long neck rifle I upgraded, and using my primitive long neck rifle, I was able to knock it out. I did have to teleport back home because I was short on some elemental kibble, and when I had enough kibble, I teleported back, and now I have the master of all turtles. And yeah, this thing is an absolute unit. Its whirlpool attack isn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but its AoE attack more than makes up for it. Once I finished proving my supremacy over this land, I returned to base and farmed some tinto berries so I can make more health potions. Then I went on another metal run, and when I returned home, I turned my puny health potions into the Chad Alpha health potions. This may seem a little extreme, but for the endgame bosses, I'm going to need all the health potions I can get. I also made more because I spotted this volcanic guardian while on my travels, and because it was a level 150, I took this as a challenge from the game, so I responded in kind with my own Hydra Guardian. The start of day 68 was when I started taming the next tier of dinos, which are the Shadow and Fairy tier. From what I gathered from my various sources, Shadow Turkeys are the only dinos in the tier that can lay eggs, so I started knocking out this sentient Thanksgiving dinner. But one thing to know about the Shadow tier is that whenever you attack them, everything takes offense to it. So I had to relocate some of the bystanders away from the turkey, and once it was knocked out, I fed it some kibble, and now I have a mutated turkey. I was going to need more than one turkey for egg-laying purposes, so I flew around looking for another shadow turkey, and once it was morning, I found another low-level shadow turkey, shot it with a bunch of mythical darts, and tamed it. I also spotted this level 130 rock elemental, and I'm not gonna lie, I wanted it. So I teleported back home to make more mythical trank darts, made more shadow kibble, and in doing so, I noticed that apparently there is a shadow gorilla in this mod. Now that sounds real interesting. I haven't seen one around, but you best believe I am going to be on the lookout for it. But that's all in the future. For right now, I turned my attention to getting this Shadow Rock Golem, and this is when I noticed that my trank darts were not doing any torpor. My first thought was that the game was bugged because that would be pretty on brand for Ark, but then I remembered that in order to knock out rock golems, you need to bonk them on the head with cannonballs. And that's a problem because because, well, I'm too lazy to make a cannon, so looks like I'm not getting that rock golem after all. However, what I will be taming is these demonic monkeys. I'm still nowhere close to being able to tame them, but a man can dream. One of the steps needed in order to tame demonics is to get my hands on some legendary dinos, and in order to make that kibble, I needed fairy eggs. So I found this low-level fairy Argy, shot it in the face with a mythical trank dart, and now I'm one step closer to taming demonics. I then knocked out another fairy Argy for more egg-laying purposes. And once I brought my new friends home, I gave them the good ol' smack right into the egg collector, and not even 10 minutes later, I had a fairy wyvern knocked out. If you're wondering why I didn't show me knocking it out, well, it's because I forgot to press record. But anyway, I now had a fairy wyvern, and unlike all my other flyers, this one actually does some good damage, and also has a ton of health as well. This makes looking for certain tames a lot easier, because I can clear out the old spawns, making way for the new, fresh dinos to spawn in. And my efforts were rewarded because after 7 minutes of field testing my new wyvern, I found a level 90 shadow broodmother. Now this would have been a harder tame if it wasn't for my griffin being an absolute unit, and once it was knocked out, I fed it some shadow kibble, and now I have arachnophobia incarnate. In terms of strength, this boy is an absolute menace, being able to do a sizable amount of damage, and as an added bonus, it is really fast. So now that I have officially conquered the shadow tier, it was time to start taming the last tier of dinos before I can start fighting some of the endgame bosses, the legendaries and the mythics. Before I did any taming though, I spent some time just flying around the map, hoping that this would be the day I finally get a good long neck rifle. And I wasn't off to a good start with my luck being trash as usual, so in desperation, I returned to my favorite cave, the jump cave. Oh my gosh, I finally found one, and it only took me 40 days to find it. However, it is a Mastercraft long neck rifle BP, so let this be a lesson to you everybody. No matter how hopeless it seems, and no matter how much you lose your sanity, never give up. Once I returned to base, I started crafting my new long neck rifle, and now I can finally start focusing on taming some legendaries. The first legendary that I had my eyes on was this giant scorpion, and thanks to my new long neck rifle, taming dinos is so much faster. Once the legendary scorpion was tamed, using some legendary kibble that I forgot to show me making again, I flew around looking for more legendary egg layers, and while doing this, I stumbled upon some dinos having a revolution, and I really didn't want to lose my wyvern, so I decided to leave the mini revolution, and that's when I found this level 130 legendary Indom. Now this is the boss fighting dino I was looking for. The only problem was that I didn't have enough legendary kibble. So to help speed up my egg production, I tamed this legendary thorny dragon, but when I returned home, the legendary scorpion wouldn't go into the egg machine, so I pretty much wasted 2 legendary kibble on a scorpion that I will never use. I love this game. Well, now that my good mood was ruined, I tamed up another fairy Argy to speed up my egg production. Then I tamed a legendary packy, and to finish off the day, a legendary Dilo. When I logged back in, I was on day 75, so we're in the end game now, boys. Which means that I have to speed things up a little. One thing that would help is finishing taming all the egg layers I need, so I spent the rest of the day looking for some mythical dinos, and this search took up all of day 75 and all of day 76 because it turns out that mythical Argies and Pteranodons are the only dinos in the tier that can lay eggs. And you would think that finding them would be easy since they're so common, but Ark loves to do this really fun thing of making a dino you're looking for impossible to find. And it was only on day 77 where I was able to find a low-level mythic Pteranodon. Once my winged friend was tamed, I continued my search for more mythical dinos, and I also bullied some of them for their health potions, which ended up taking the rest of the day. On the morning of day 78, I tamed this fairy wyvern for more egg-laying purposes, and teleported back home to integrate my new fairy dinos into the egg machine. So the only thing left to do now is wait on some fairy eggs, so I spent the rest of the day just flying around, hunting down some shadow and mythical dinos for some of that easy loot. And when it was nighttime, I tamed another shadow turkey, and returned home to make 5 legendary kibble and a legendary indom saddle. Now that I had everything ready to tame this indom, I flew on over to Volcano Island and started knocking it out while maintaining a safe distance of 1,000 feet from it, and once it was knocked out, I grappled down, fed it some of that legendary kibble, and say hello to my new boss fighter. What makes legendary dinos so good for boss fighting is because of their bleed ability, which does a percentage of the target's health over time, and when your target has millions of HP, that adds up. They also have a kill meter similar to that of a Karchar, so I spent some time getting this indom used to the art of war. And this is when I ran into a primal resurrected raptor. Now, normally I would run away at the mere sight of one of these undead menaces, but in order to progress in this mod, I'm gonna have to beat it. So I gave my indom some mythical health potions, and let the fighting begin. Gotta keep backing up. Alright, I'm good, just gotta keep backing up.
Are you sure about that?
Oh no.
Yeah, so I lost. It turns out that indoms have this really fun ability called roid raging, and I also forgot that primal resurrected bosses can make your dino lose stamina. So, I'm going to have to think of a new legendary dino to tame, and thankfully, I already had one in mind. If you haven't already figured it out, my plan is to tame a legendary Spike Boy, because they have a natural damage reduction, and they also don't roid rage every time they get a splinter. So, after some searching, I was able to track down this level 1 forted legendary Stego, and after bringing him back to the safety of my base, I was able to knock him out, and now I have a real chance at beating the primal bosses. So I gave the Stego some XP potions, and let round 2 begin. Yeah, that's right, I can tank. I just gotta tank it out, that's the whole name of the game. Well, that ended horribly. I don't know how the raptor kept hitting the stego's head, but my plan was working because I was able to get it down like 20 million health. So if I had more potions, I probably could have won, but losing 2 times in a row really hurt. At least now I know that my plan does work, so using the dino tracker, I found another legendary stego, and after taming it up, I found this level 15 Primal Stego, and this was a long fight. I was never in any real danger of dying since, well, it's a level 15, and after several minutes of smacking this man, I got my first primal victory. For my rewards, I got some primal polymer, electronics, some primal bones, and more importantly, some demonic rockets. This was huge because you can only knock out demonic dinos by using a demonic rocket launcher, but in order to make the rocket launcher, I needed demonic ingots. Meaning that I have to actually kill a demonic dino before I can make it. And doesn't that sound fun? So instead, I found another primal boss, and that fight went pretty much the same as the last one, just giving this man the business. And now I can proudly say that I have defeated 2 primal bosses. Back at base, I restocked on my taming supplies and fought another primal boss that was trespassing on my property, and after claiming my spoils of war, the only thing stopping me from taming my first demonic was, ironically, beating one. So I spent the rest of the day tracking down a demonic dino I had a 1% chance of beating, which led me back to an old foe, the demonic dilo. My plan was to use the Hydra Guardian since it does have a ton of health and has the ability to make dinos oxygen deficient, but to keep things brief, I got obliterated. I did manage to get its health down by 200k, which gave me some hope. So I enlisted the services of my volcanic guardian and challenged this demonic dilo to the ultimate duel.
Man, I'm dead.
Ooh, now that was a fight. All the struggles and all the flyers I have lost have now been avenged. Unfortunately, I still do not have enough demonic blood, so I'm gonna have to do this a second time. So I found another demonic dilo and challenged it to a duel, and midway through the fight, I spotted a nightmare trike, so I had the big brain idea to get the demonic dilo to attack the nightmare trike, and my plan actually worked, and I watched happily as the demonic menace met his end, and I was able to get all the demonic blood I needed to make the demonic rocket launcher. So I returned home, made some demonic ingots, and made the demonic rocket launcher. Before I did any demonic taming though, I first wanted to tame this legendary wyvern, and with the combination of my OP rifle and the wyvern being too fast for its own good, I was able to tame it. And what better way to test out my new wyvern than to fight another primal jabroni and re-establish my dominance over this land. At base, I restocked my potion supply and made a modest 15 demonic kibble. This should be enough to tame at least a few high-level demonics, so I flew on over to Volcano Island and started knocking out this demonic thorny dragon. And if this man is anything like its primal fear counterpart, then this thorny dragon is going to be a beast. It only took a few rockets to put this flaming lizard to sleep, and after feeding it some kibble, I had my first demonic dino. But I couldn't use it just yet because I was short on demonic hide. So to solve this minor issue, I just had my new friend hunt down its fellow demonics, and yeah, I say he's pretty strong. I started off day 85 by beefing with this Hydra guardian, and after reminding it where I stood on the food chain, I found another demonic dino, and after sending my thorny dragon to delete this dilo from existence, this was huge because I was able to get enough demonic hide to make the thorny dragon saddle. And this is where the real fun begins. All those days of being too afraid to fight the bosses are now gone because look at how fast my thorny dragon shreds this man. I just did 40 million damage in like 15 seconds. And what's even more crazy is that I only have 15 days to prepare an army for the Death Knight, a boss that could quite literally send me back right to the Stone Age. So, after getting some revenge on the Primal Raptor that killed my Stego, I flew on out to the snow biome, where I bullied this low-level demonic gorilla and tamed a max-level male thorny dragon. Some of you might have already guessed this. My plan is to make an army of these demonic menaces, but I also wanted to see how strong the other demonics were. What kind of power were they packing? So when I found this demonic monkey, I just had to tame it. Right until this monkey decided to do his best impression of John Cena and shoulder checked me right off my griffin. Thankfully, my griffin did survive, and I was able to knock it out. While it was taming, I teleported back to base and got my thorny dragon's breeding. Then I made the demonic monkey saddle, teleported back, and this thing is a powerhouse. It's not as strong as the thorny dragon, but that doesn't matter because it is still a giant monkey that can throw miniature nukes and is a absolute tank. It was able to solo another gorilla in a 1v1 fight. And even when this demonic thorny dragon tried to make a special guest appearance, it was able to send this man packing right to the loading screen. So I ended up spending the rest of the day just going around and probably having the most fun so far in this mod. And on the morning of day 87, I took on my hardest challenge yet, the Nightmare Raptor. Die. Alright, we're doing good, we're doing good. This is just a war of attrition. We got this. Oh, first nightmare taken down.
I got you.
What are you doing here, Volcanic Raptor? Should be able to beat this. Come on. Yeah, so that went better than expected. I probably would have died like 30 times over if it wasn't for these health potions, but who cares? Because I just beat my first nightmare boss and got an insane gorilla saddle. I also got the Nightmare Raptor token, one of the 7 tokens needed to summon in the Death Knight, with the hardest nightmare bosses being the Yudi and the Nightmare Reaper. I was going to need some stronger demonics before fighting those two, so after I was done terrorizing the locals, I deleted another thorny dragon from the server, along with this electric Rex, and started taming this demonic ferox. This is probably my favorite creature in this entire mod, because just look at this man. Has that rip your face off kind of energy. Probably has like 700 ways this man can turn me into a boneless Peter Griffin. The knockout process wasn't anything too special thanks to my Griffin, and once I had it tamed, I teleported back home to make it saddle, and this man is an absolute menace. Its special ability allows it to quite literally rain fire, add in the fact that it can turn its opponents into Swiss cheese, and now I'm thinking of making an army of these boys. Before I did any more taming, I first had to farm more mejoberries to make more demonic kibble. Then I found this level 150 nightmare trike just chilling 50 feet away from my base with its 120 million health. Well, that's not terrifying at all, so I proceeded to ignore this man for the time being, tame this max level ferox, and now I have a breeding pair. This is where things start to get a little repetitive, because the only thing I have left to do is to fight a bunch of nightmare bosses, raise an army, and defeat the Death Knight in 11 days. So I put my head down and got to work. Have at thee!
Oh, what the fuck?
It can't even hit me, I'm just gonna keep sniping it. Come on, monkey. We ain't got nothing on us, raptor. We ain't got nothing. Oh, there we go. He's bleeding down. Oh, you guys are almost grown up. I shall call you Rambo. Can I get you to 10 million? Wow, okay. Oh, he can do the charge? Alright, 3, let's have at it. Oh, this is gonna take a while. Just keep hitting it. Oh, look at all that fire we still have going. Alright, should be dead. Hello there, friend. Nice to meet you.
You picked the wrong house, fool!
Don't run off the map. Don't run off the map. Don't run off the map! I knew that was gonna happen. Stay in the pits of fire, Satan bird. So I have Carnoraptor Spino, I have Carnoraptor Udi Trike. So I need Rex, Dodo Reaper, and Spino. I need 3 more. Rex, Dodo Reaper, Spino. Hello, friend. Welcome to the world. Can I throw another one? Go, my meteors of death. Oh gosh, he's hydrated. I'm gonna slice you up. Get over here. Oh, that's how you use. Oh my gosh, that's how you use it. You gotta throw right at the ground underneath them. Alright. Let's summon the Rex. Oh, he's a big level. There you go. I don't want to hit it, I want to hit the ground. That fight went way longer than I expected, but it was worth it because I am only one more nightmare boss away from fighting the Death Knight. Before I did any more boss fighting, I teleported back home and spent some time raising my army and flew on over to the floating island to tame my last demonic dino and what very well could be the key to beating this mod, the demonic Reaper Queen. I had to be careful though because this area of the map is always having a battle royale. Thankfully the demonic reaper was kind enough and decided to go for a swim, which made it super easy to knock out and tame. And ladies and gentlemen, say hello to my strongest creature. And the reason why is because of the reaper's natural damage reduction, and also because this thing hits like a semi-truck. So in the early hours of day 95, I decided to quit stalling and face down the strongest nightmare boss, the Nightmare Reaper Queen. And when I say that this fight was my hardest one so far, I mean that it literally took me 20 minutes to beat. I was never in any real danger of dying thanks to my health potions, and honestly, dying of boredom was a bigger threat than the Dodo Reaper. So I might have overhyped this fight by just a little bit, but I was able to get the last nightmare token I needed to craft the Death Knight Summoner. Before I fought it though, I wanted to have some fun fighting the other nightmare bosses, and unlike the Dodo Reaper, they don't have a damage reduction. So I was able to melt right through them. After I was done waging a one-man war against the nightmare bosses, I got a decent amount of thorny dragon saddles and some nightmare potions, the strongest potions in this mod. When I teleported back home, I made more nightmare trike summoners because I was trying to get more thorny dragon saddles, and after fighting 8 nightmare trikes, I had enough thorny dragon saddles for my army. So I saddled them up, flew on over to the blue obelisk, and here we go, boys. The final fight of this adventure. Everything we have done has led to this moment. All the grinding, all the hardships have prepared us for this. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this show on the road. Everyone in!
What? What the fuck?
Got it. Alright, new plan. Get it into the water. Oh crap. Goodbye, Legendary Wyvern. You were a hero. I need to get him into the water. I don't know how much time I have left. 24 minutes. To do 90 million damage. That's right. Come into the water. It's nice. This might be the most brain-dead or genius maneuver I've ever concocted in my history of playing Ark. Yes! Ha-ha! Now that is what I'm talking about. Say whatever you want about me luring it into the water, but I beat it. Albeit in a very cheesy way. But when my entire army gets nuked in the first 15 seconds, what else am I supposed to do? For my reward, I got the saddle for the tameable version of the Death Knight, but when I went to go grab the rest of the loot, I couldn't find it. I spent a solid 15 minutes searching for the loot bag, but it was nowhere to be found, and I was ready to end the video right there, but something in me said no. No, this isn't how it's going to end. I went through all the trouble to get here, and I was getting the loot I was promised. So, it's time for a run back. Ow, 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 ow. Why is he swimming so good? Now that is what I call a finale. Yes, I'm aware that I did use the cheese strat again, but if I had more health potions, I think I could have soloed the Death Knight. But I can proudly say that I have beaten the Death Knight 2 times in this video. And if you're wondering why I'm not talking about the loot I got, well, it's because I couldn't find the loot bag again. So I guess I'll have to come back at some point for round 2. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next adventure. Take care, everyone.